Hello and welcome to another Pastor's Library. This is the channel where we discuss everything to do with theology books that might be on a reading list for your seminary course, your bachelor's or master's degrees, or simply books that you've seen on your vicar's bookshelf, your pastor's desk, or just books that you've bumped into in a Christian bookshop. We're going to talk about a particular series of books today. And if you like what I have to say, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube, and please remember to subscribe if you haven't done already. Click on the bell and then we will let you know when another episode is released. So you will know, if you've watched any of these before, that I'm quite a fan of the New International Commentary on the New Testament and its sister publication, the New International Commentary on the Old Testament. So these are the NICOTs I'm going to talk about today. And for a long time I've had Robert Hubbard Jr.'s Book of Ruth on my bookshelf. It struck me that this was getting old. So I had a look in the relevant websites and discovered that there was a new one planned this year. And I've just had it in my library about a week now, which is again called the Book of Ruth. It's got the same cover on it as the other one, but this is now by Peter Lau. Peter Lau. Now, the interesting thing is that these days, the whole series is edited by Robert Hubbard, who did the first one. But this original Book of Ruth in the NICOT series by Robert Hubbard, that was published in 1988. And those of you that are studying will know that at that age, it will not be looked upon too favourably if you're quoting it a lot in an essay for a master's or a bachelor's degree, because there's this sort of 25-30 year rule at most Bible colleges and in universities. They will encourage you to study the most recent documents. Therefore, with a publication date of 2023, this is definitely the first one you should be looking at if you're looking for an academic commentary or a serious commentary as a pastor. This new one by Peter Lau is very good. But that raises the issue of what happens with Robert Hubbard Jr. Now, I have to say to you, I have always liked this commentary. It is very good, and the degree of academic work which went into Robert Hubbard's commentary was very precious little different to the degree of academic fervour which is used today. This is not like we're looking at something from 1950. This is something that is really still quite a modern book. It just drops out of favour with the age rule for furthering the study of theology and biblical studies by always consulting the newest documents. Now, what of course is quite radically different between the two books is that if you look in Lau's bibliography, there's only a tiny percentage of the books and the journal articles that he has consulted and that he considers relevant to what he has written. Only a tiny percentage of them were even written when Hubbard did his. So the wealth of literature that has been involved in his work by Lau, that gives you a lead on into what other things you can read if you are studying Ruth, if you are wanting to look into this into a greater depth. His bibliography is much, much more helpful. Now, when you go to the section that deals with the verse-by-verse commentary in both, I have tried very hard to find any massive differences between them. I mean, for example, they both deal with the issue of Naomi's instruction to Ruth to go down to the threshing floor and to expose the feet of Boaz, whereas they deal with it in a slightly different way. Both of them give us very much the same sort of information. Both of them treat it appropriately and with respect. Also, when it comes to Boaz's discussion with the other potential kinsman redeemer, they both deal with the ins and outs of that. Both of them mention Levirate marriage. But the reality is that there's a little bit of an emphasis one way or another by the different authors. But I suppose what I'm saying is, for a verse-by-verse commentary, I think Hubbard is still very good. And if you are trying just to put together a library for your own study, and you're not going to be writing or quoting anything, you're not going to be doing any degree work, then Hubbard will no doubt be a lot cheaper, and it is still very good quality. It's just if you are wanting to engage in further study, then Low's is a lot better. I think also it's worth saying that in the area before the verse-by-verse commentary, where it deals with things like the theology of the book, the background of the book, the context, the date, questions of who might have written it, and that type of thing, that, again, both of them deal with the matters very appropriately. Although I have to say, it is in that area of the book which I felt that Low excelled and did a much better job. When I say much better, I just mean better with what was out there. I mean, the truth is, a good commentator should gather all the information that's out there and represent it to you in one volume. Hubbard didn't have access to what Low's had. So I would suggest to you that if you are going to engage in any form of study, a study that might result in an award, then Low is definitely the one to go for. And ultimately, I think you will find you'll be very, very pleased with what you read here. So Hubbard is still worth it, still a good one. This is not a totally out-of-date book, but for university study, Low is the one you should choose. And what I would say to you is I think the background with regard to the book in Low is definitely a lot better than Hubbard, whereas the verse-by-verse commentary is probably only more updated rather than superior. One thing that Low talks about in his section on the purpose of the book is that he sees Ruth written with a couple of different purposes. For example, he mentions that it's there to teach kindness, referring to the Hebrew word hesed, the word from which we get mercy and things like that. He says that one prime rule for the book is to encourage kindness and to look after your relatives, as for example with Levirate marriage. And he also sees it as a book that is written primarily to justify the kingship of David, which is an interesting and important point. So, what I would say to you is, we're at the time when a lot of books are being renewed because of age, and you will see a number of these from me over the next 12 months as various commentaries are updated. And I would say with this one, this is not an end to a book. Hubbard is not out the window, but Low is probably an important upgrade to Hubbard. And I think it's interesting that Hubbard has retained the editing role of the book. And I can see here that the best of his work is encompassed. And really that's what you always want in a commentary, is the last generation, the best of it is kept, and then what is new is added. And so Peter Low, I would have to say, I like this. I have enjoyed going through it. and I commend it to you. Just be aware whenever you're buying commentaries, always check the date of publication, because you could end up buying a commentary which may not serve your purpose for very long. So I hope that's helped you today. If it has, please give us a thumbs up on YouTube. Please remember to subscribe and ring the bell, and that way we will let you know as soon as we're launching another episode of Pastor's Library. Until the next time, goodbye. Bye.